All right. Is that an automatic thing that happens?
It is, yep.
Cool.
So as attendees join, we'll just have to unmute them once they connect to audio.
All right.
But like I said, Kaylee will be on all your other calls, and she'll just
Hmm.
be doing that automatically. That's not something you'll have to worry about.
Cool.
Hi, Rob. It's Mark.
Hey. Hey, Mark. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Excellent.
Yeah. You back in the US?
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll love this. This is a dumb move on my part. So I go back. I'm flying out on Thursday. So I get up. My flight's in the afternoon. I get up and I swing. Luckily, the Schneider office is right next to Victoria Station. So I go and hang out in the office for a bit and then get on the Gatwick Express, just about lunchtime to get out for my flight at 4. And I get to Gatwick and I'm like, I left my passport in the safe in the hotel.
Oh.
So I called up the hotel and they were able to get it in a taxi and got it 5 minutes to spare. So I made it, but I was like, oh, what a dumb move. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know someone who did that in a ski resort. I went with him, and it cost him £250 in 8 hours. So yeah, if you're going to do it somewhere
Yeah.
easy
Yeah.
to get
Mine
around.
was 100. Mine was 110 pounds. Yeah.
Oh dear, easily done.
Yeah. All right. So let's see, I can minimize that. There we go. All right. Just figuring out the interface here. Yeah, this seems to make sense. All right. All right. We better have more than 3 folks here, or Michael, 4, including you. No. Uh,
I hope no one's on the old fuse call.
I know. That's why I sent out the reminder. Not that people read emails, but I can always send out an email to everybody just for fun. Oh, I'm not able to dial. Let's see. Maybe idea to discuss. Oh, one practical question.
Someone having an issue
Oh.
dialing in?
No, no, he can't make the call, but he just wanted to bring up something for the meeting. All right,
Oh.
I can talk about that. I think he doesn't know where the correct links are. Um, cool. All right. All right. Jim Hatfield.
So Jim will need to enter pound 83 pound as well for his audio pin. If someone is joining via phone, then they have to enter an audio pin.
Oh, just so it links it up with their web
Yep.
web name. Okay.
And I've unmuted Jim now.
All right.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. All right. We'll wait a bit. A little slow going here this morning/afternoon. Um, so Jim, where you calling in from?
Colorado.
Oh, okay, great. All right, Scott. I'm just taking some attendance here. Awesome. So well, there's all these little icons. Not that is great. There's the not attentive. So hey, if you put another screen up, I can tell, right? That's funny.
Yep, you can.
Yeah. I'm glad we don't have that internal to our company because that's half the conference calls I'm on. Jeez, too much multitasking.
I gotta switch to another screen to make notes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so it looks like neither Jason or Scott are connected to audio. Oh, Scott is now.
I mean, I just plugged it in my computer and it works really well. I mean, it sounds crystal clear.
Yeah, it says much more professional.
Auto forward filter also.
And we'll unmute Jason there.
That was Jason, the noisy one there?
No, that was Scott. So, folks, what will happen is once you log in, Kaylee or your project lead will unmute you. At that point, you can then self-mute at will. I think that's what Scott just did.
Okay, yeah, they're self-muted. I see that. Okay.
So
Oh, you can mute everybody too. Oh, that's good.
You can move me back to be an attendee instead of staff then?
Oh yeah, how do you do that? Let's see.
Michael, it doesn't look like I can move you back. And I think the reason why I had to make you an organizer to start was because I hadn't started the broadcast. You'll have to forgive me. This is my first time helping out with GoToWebinar as well. Kaylee is our professional at this. I don't think it'll affect anything for the call, so I'm just going to leave you as a organizer for now.
That works.
All right.
Can you remind us what's on the agenda for today, please?
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't really send one out, so that's my bad. So what I want to do is review what we presented. Kind of go through what we presented at DCD London for those that aren't there. The currently released products that we did. I'd like to also talk about the summit because the submission for presentations is going to be coming up very soon. And then lastly, from a Schneider perspective, so I'll take my project lead hat off and kind of, we have an old submission that was done prior to me being project lead that's kind of sat there, and I want to bring it back up, the facility operations maturity model. So it's good to have Jason on here because he was part of the team here. And just quickly review what it is with everybody and see if we could potentially move this. There we go. See if we can move that that submission forward. And then Mark Dance also in the email. I'd like you to kind of cover some of your idea for a another contribution with regards to the cord and carrier grade 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries.
All right. All right, great. We don't have too many folks on, a couple of new names, so if it's okay with you guys, I want to do a quick, just a really quick introductions. There we go. All right, so we'll kick off the meeting. For those that don't know me, Rob Bunger. I've been a project lead here for just a little bit over a year. Jason Schaefer kind of sucked me into this thing, and I'm from Schneider Electric, so I've been doing data center stuff for a little over 20 years. And if you want to count critical facilities, it's in the 28 year range. And then Jason Schaefer, who was who's our incubation committee representative, is on the call. I'll let Jason introduce himself, and then we'll go through the other attendees real quick.
Yeah, thanks. Assuming you want me to do it now?
Yeah, please, thanks.
Yeah, so I mean, not a whole lot more than what Rob said. He's right that I did kind of suck him into it, but only because he was capable and I knew would be good contributor and leader for the group. But anyway, I was initially involved with Open Compute back when I did bring the facility operations maturity model to OCP at the time. It was just kind of an idea. And that was in, man, when was that?
14 or 15? Yeah.
Yeah, like 2014 or so. And then, over time, I got nominated to be the project lead, and then later for the IC seat. And anyway, here we are. I'm with Google right now as a technical program manager, and my area of specialty is not all that different from Rob's, data center operations and engineering and construction management.
Cool. All right, thank you. All right, I don't know if your list is in the same order as mine, but I'll go down with Jim Hatfield, just real quick.
Good morning. I'm with Seagate Technology. I represent Seagate at many standards organizations, both in the storage industry and in the security industry. And I'm relatively new to OCP, so not really familiar with the processes and stuff, but that's me.
Yeah, perfect. All right, great. Yeah, welcome. All right, Mark, you've been around a while, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm Mark Dancy. I'm a technical project manager, building out white spaces. I've been a member of the project team for a year. Been a member of Open Compute for 2 years. And I've been one of the team members working on the facility guidelines for Open Racks document that we've just had published.
Yep. Yeah, Mark's been the lead on that, so he's really the main guy that got that thing done. So thank you.
That's great.
All right. Mukesh.
Good morning. This is Mukesh Khatter. I am with the Electric Power Research Institute, EPRI. Some of you are familiar what EPRI is, but think of it EPRI as a model very similar to Bell Labs. Bell Labs was primarily an R&D for the telephone industry. EPRI is a research organization for electric utilities around the globe. My interest in data centers focuses on energy efficiency and potential demand response possibilities that the utilities are very interested in. They understand this is a very important critical node and they need to support that and provide the reliability and availability. I've been involved with OCP in not a very deep level so far. I was with Oracle when I did Oracle on the Green Grid board, and also involved in design and operation of data centers, quite a few of them. So have some deep background in understanding how to make these facilities more efficient, and like to participate in this team to see what I can contribute to the team, and in understanding where the energy flows are and how we can make them more efficient.
Perfect. Yeah, great. You're in the right spot. So yeah, I'm appreciate you joining here in the past few months. So, great, thank you, Scott Poole.
Looks like Scott's self-muted right now. Scott, you'll need to unmute.
Let's see, am I able? Yeah, you can't undo it. All right. So Scott, yeah, let us know if you're able to unmute. And it's totally cool to just kind of be on the call and listen and see what's going on also. So, but I always like to see everybody's background because the more diverse, usually the better the conversations. All right, and then Michael Thompson, you've been on many of the calls here.
I work for Pentair, and we were one of the authors of the CG Open Rack 19 spec when we build products for that. We also do industrial air conditioners and system management tools and pretty much anything that would go in the data center.
Awesome. All right, thank you. All right, we'll get rolling here. So first, I want to. We had a pretty successful workshop at Data Center Dynamics in London last week. So it happened on Wednesday, the second day, and we were the only Open Compute project that had a workshop in Europe. And which kind of makes sense because, to be honest, a lot of the activity from our group is happening over in Europe. And I do want to show you. Let me see if I can. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. And all right. I think I can figure this. No one can see your screen. Click to start sharing. Oop, do I have to be presenter? How do I do this?
As an organizer, you can do that automatically. You can just make yourself presenter, and I'm doing that to you now. Or you can just click Show Main Screen up there at the top left.
Okay. Oh, interesting. All right, sorry. Screw monitor 1. There's screen. I'm doing that. Okay, can you guys see my browser?
We can.
Yep. Is there stuff on that? Let me get that out of the way. I don't know if that's blocking it or not, but all right.
Yeah, I can see that. Take control of your technology future.
Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, so hopefully everybody here is pretty familiar with this website, but just want to let you know that, so under, under the projects here, this project meeting calendar is great now. I don't think this has been here super long. Maybe it has, Michael, but
about 2 weeks, yeah.
Oh, okay, so good. It's not just me. But anyways, all the projects have any event or project call. It's all right here. You can click on it. So here's the data center project, and it's going to give you the link to log in and all that. So that is super handy, right, to have right on the website. For us here, the data center, and again, our scope is kind of the facility. So if you take the rack and go outwards, that's us. And so, obviously power cooling, IT space layout design, monitoring, control, and operations is our current scope. And so on the right-hand side, if you go to the wiki, I'm starting to get this thing cleaned up. I'm no wiki expert, but I've got some stuff posted. So the presentations that we did at the engineering workshop in Dallas are linked here. So if you want to go right here, there's some videos and stuff, and I think Michael, you might have put those up. And then last month we had a presentation done on redfish introduction, so you can link to that. And then I'm going to start posting all the DCD presentations here too. Now, most important here, right here, we have our published informational documents. So there's 2 documents that we got basically published, approved at the incubation committee 2 weeks ago, and it's the Colo Facility Guidelines, which is a PDF document that kind of walks through the thinking on the guidelines, and then the actual checklist. So you go here and you can download those documents, yeah. So those were presented. Let me go back here. At the Data Center Dynamics, as well as, let's see, we had Ramanet and Microsoft presenting. Mark, I don't know if you just wanted to say any, make a few comments about DCD London and any conversations around this checklist, and then also the guidelines.
Yeah, we had about 80 people, I think, attend. We didn't have enough space. There were people apparently trying to get in, but they couldn't get in. So it certainly caused some interest. Certainly, and it was on a Friday as well. So that was something to get everyone staying behind. So we had some really interesting sort of comments coming through from some Colo developers. Asking more about the sort of what they should be looking to provide. And we've had some really good feedback. I mean, we had some conversations with some end users that are looking to refresh their servers in sort of 2018, 2019, and they're very seriously looking at OCP. And just to say, there's some interesting drivers happening, causing enterprises to look at OCP now. There's two things. Apparently, end of life of servers is happening in 2018. Apparently, HPC class. And also, there's an EU regulation that's coming through in 2019 for energy efficiency, which is going to cause companies to have to refresh. So this is really handy. It's coming at the right time, you know, to give people a good understanding of what they need to do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good. But there is just one thing. Even like now, we're sort of. I went to a Facebook event yesterday where they were talking about the Odents facility and what they're doing in there.
You went, you went up to the one in Copenhagen or Aarhus?
In Copenhagen, and just one thing that. Something we're going to need to add to the document is that something that we need to consider is that Facebook still have UPSs in their data center build because their network switching is being supplied by UPS still.
Yeah.
So they haven't gone completely without UPS and racks and rack backup. So that was quite an interesting thing that came out of there. So yeah. So I've linked up with some guys who are in the Luleå facility.
Yeah.
We had a good chat, and I'm hoping that they're going to provide some feedback on what we provided in the checklist. So yeah, one of the things that it would be good to get feedback from companies that are, you know, organisations that are already doing this. So I'm hoping that we're going to get some feedback from Facebook themselves, which will be really good.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think you know, especially if, you know, I don't know their you know, Facebook's data center plans, but I'm sure in some areas, right, they want to put their gear in a colo, right? So they're going to have they'll have a good view on what this would look like. So yeah, that's great. Yeah, the other, so, you know, just again for those that aren't familiar, so over the past year, Mark's been driving the guidelines and this checklist, which are kind of that would be a center of a conversation for a colo facility and a tenant to have to talk through if the facility is suitable for, you know, an open compute type of rack, which is, you know, fully configured. It could be heavier from normal, may or may not have batteries in it, and things like that. So the next step, which was, again, we presented this in London, is this, and don't take the name, you know, OCP ready checklist. So what we want to do is turn this into a type of a certification or assessment. And so we've taken all the major items in that and put it into this Google spreadsheet, and it still needs some more work. We've got some feedback that we've gotten, and you can kind of put your you know, hey, what my facility is rated to, and it'll give a score, which is kind of summarized here. And idea being that, you know, facilities, colo facilities that are interested in maybe differentiating themselves to be, you know, really suitable for open compute and live up to the open compute tenets. They can go through this checklist. They can present the checklist to this work group, and we meet monthly, you know, with evidence of their design of how they meet it. And then we send it up to the incubation committee, and they would approve it, and then they'd be listed potentially on the you know, in the marketplace as a colo facility that is suitable for open compute. And you know, we got to work through the branding of the program and things like that. But in any event, it would, it's just one more step in the effort to make it easier for users to, to try to deploy this type of IT hardware. So, that makes sense? Did I describe that pretty well, Mark?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
You certainly do. I think, yeah, I think we've, there was a few comments made about, the content of this, refining it. I think it was one of the things you brought up, Rob, was to regarding the floor loading, that we can really sort of simplify that. Doesn't matter what the floor is, it just needs to support the weight loading requirements of the rack.
Right.
So yeah. So that's well, there's some work to be done, but I think we're going along the right lines for sure.
Yeah. And it'll be good to go through the two other things that happened at DCD London. There's three other presentations. Two from Microsoft. Microsoft kind of gave an update on their server project, Olympus, and so they kicked it off last year, I think, at the summit or this past summit, and it's it's a little more traditional, like 1U server, 3-phase power input. Kind of has its own special rack PDU that kind of almost blind mates to the back. So no batteries in the rack or server for this particular design. Some of the interesting thing they said, it will have the ability to do power capping. And so not only can you design the facility a little bit closer to your max IT load, because then if it does start to go up, it can cap the CPUs for the period of time that it's maybe peaking. Which again would be a benefit to the facility, because again you could size you don't have to oversize your facility to take that thing. The other thing that was really interesting is the power supplies are designed for N+1. They're 3-phase, so it's kind of 2+1 for the power supplies and the server. So you can lose one, it still operates. You could even if you lost a second one before you get the other one fixed, the server can go into power capping mode, so it can still operate, although in a kind of a reduced capacity, so it doesn't just drop. So that was, I think, kind of an interesting thing, at least on the facility side for me. The second topic that Microsoft talked about was the project, brand new project that they have called Project Cerberus, which is basically a way to secure the firmware on a server or any device that has firmware. So there's all sorts of parts of a server that has firmware, on the motherboard and maybe the GPU and the other parts of it. And so this would be upon boot up and check to make sure that it's all the right versions and things. And it's beyond my knowledge of how this stuff works, but they're trying to make this thing an open source process. So whether your server or any other kind of device that has firmware, from a cybersecurity perspective, it'll prevent you from having, I guess upon boot up, there's a little bit of a chance that you could get some malware embedded into the firmware, and this would prevent that. And I don't know, maybe somebody else that's a little bit better on that stuff can explain it in more detail than myself. But we'll post the presentation on this as soon as I get it. All right. Any questions about the summit, or any questions about DCD London, what was presented, or the Colo facility checklist or assessment?
Rob, if this happens again, I don't know whether it would be possible to bring the start of the workshop forward to earlier in the day.
Oh yeah. So yeah, if Michael, from a foundation perspective, it happened the year before. So great, it started at whatever 2:45, and the audience was great for the first 2 hours, and then we finished up at what 5:30, and I guess the room was probably 20% full compared to the beginning, right?
Mm.
Yeah, it gets tough at the end of the day on the second day of the show. Now, the other thing that we can do is, it's kind of great it's easy to do it as joint, but we can just do a workshop, on our own, right? So if there's a member company that maybe wants to host it in a major city in Europe, we can just decide to kind of go do it. And usually it works if there's several projects that want to do that together. And so that's a definitely a topic.
Right. So so just to do it as a one-off event. You're saying that might be the yes. Yeah, I do know of a venue. One of the there's a data center, in Scandinavia that has got an office in London that possibly we could approach.
Yeah, Green Mountain.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, I know they had mentioned that of hosting one. I know getting up to Scandinavia might not be the easiest for a lot of the folks in Europe. I don't know if.
Oh no, this is in London.
They'd want to host it in London. Oh.
Yeah, they've got an office near the Ritz, Green Park area, so it's pretty easy to get to. So yeah, they've got an office there because they're a very large organisation. It's not just the data centre is just one part of their organisation. So.
Okay.
So that might be, and possibly it could be linked up with a solution provider in UK.
You bet.
So yeah, that might be good because I would say that when we were in the process of creating the checklist, it really pushed forward when I organised the meeting. We had a roundtable discussion with about 5 or 6 people in London, and it sort of that seemed to get really things moving. Sometimes I think you just need to meet up and sit around the table and thrash it out. And so I think having more workshops would probably, it would be a very sort of creative way of, getting things, more things moving potentially.
And I wonder if, again, I know a lot of stuff happens over in Silicon Valley, and they have kind of informal meetups. And from a regional perspective, maybe that makes sense. Definitely, you can have a UK meetup and maybe something on mainland Europe too. So, let me. I think Michael Archna and stuff. We can talk about how we organize and promote that, or how's that work? If we still have you. Look at my people here. All right. Sounds good. Any other comments? Did you want to mention something about the carrier grade rack? And it's perfect. We got Michael Thompson on here, who was part of that project. So that's because you talked about maybe some guidelines for that one, or. Yes,
indeed. Yeah, I know. I just I noted that when Michael mentioned CG19. Okay, so what? There was somebody from Radisys in the workshop who was asking questions about some of the things that we'd set down as parameters in the checklist, and that got me thinking that this should. I think this is the time to maybe start talking to to some of the other groups and telco. It seems to be really the whole sort of adoption of OCP within telco seems to be really moving on apace. Mm-hmm. And I've been involved with a few conversations around how are these telcos feeding the racks? What are they feeding it with? Is it 48 volts? Is it DC, or is it 400 volts DC? Is it 3-phase? And things like that. So there's definitely some differences when they're changing these central offices to called. I think we've got the guidelines document, and it. I just thinking that we can use that as the basis of it, and just manipulate it to for the specific telco sort of situation. So I had a chat with somebody from Radisys to say, can you can we find out who's contributing from your company on the telco project that we could talk to and maybe get involved? And so that's as far as it's got at the moment.
Yeah, if and Michael, you can correct me, if I look straight up at the carry grade open rack, it's from, if you look at it as a black box, it's ACN, has its own power supply type of thing, pretty straightforward IT, form factor thing. But I think I like Michael, I like your point on the actual facilities that they're putting these things in might have different power technologies, like 48 volt, or maybe I know Orange talks about 400 volt, things like that, and maybe having some reference designs or example designs on how these a conversion could happen. And I don't know, has that been talked about in the telco work group at all, Michael?
All of the CG OpenRack installations that I've seen so far have been AC powered. None of them were 48.
Okay. Are there needs where they have like this extra 48 volt capacity that they want to utilize, or is that just getting converted? Or
the CG OpenRacks were kind of separate from anything else that was in there, and it's providing facilities that they don't have now. So the only thing that really gets connected into their existing data center is fiber and the AC power.
Okay, all right. Yeah, fair enough. All right.
So Michael, is it fully understood what the environment needs to be to convert a central office?
It would probably be very helpful for potential telcos that are looking at OCP or CG OpenRack specifically to have another set of requirements documents that they could go through and see how their telco data center would work with OCP or CG OpenRack specifically. Because we have run into some interesting installations that had virtually nothing for a loading dock and had to disassemble crates in the parking lot, and it was
yes.
Having one of their facilities guys go through the guidelines document there and saying, oh, this is going to be a problem, that's going to be a problem, would really help with some planning.
Well,
good.
That's good. Well, maybe the existing document will serve it good enough. I don't know. Maybe change the name from Colo to right.
Change it from Colo to Telco, and we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, right?
One of the.
Go ahead.
Go on.
Yeah, I thought of one other thing that we could probably add to the list on there is the number of dumpsters that you need to have to store all the trash after the installation.
So, okay, so that's interesting. You've seen these things, and I thought like the fully configured racks were better in the trash department than maybe a pile of servers and boxes. I mean, because don't the like nice wooden crates usually get shipped back to the integrator or something?
You would think so, but it's not happening.
Really?
I think the manufacturer needs, whoever's putting the racks together needs to organise that with the right logistics team. I mean, we used Expeditors in the UK. They're from sort of Holland and that, and they come over and part of what we asked them to do is to remove, once it's uncrated. I mean, they provide a white glove service, so they uncrate it and they move the rack to the white space and they take all the crate and everything away. So that's the ideal scenario, but not not everyone's doing that.
Maybe you could add one line item on there that just says whether there is room for a skip or a dumpster. To store all the trash after the installation.
Yeah, I took note. That's interesting because I think, you could do it two ways, right? Yeah, something for a skip or a dumpster, or you know, arrangements for return of the crates back to the you know, integrator or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did one installation that was less than an hour's drive from our factory, and they didn't want to recycle the crates. That was, we could have built housing for about 10 homeless people, you know, with the plywood that was left over.
I know, because I mean, you know, shipping empty racks is one thing, right? A pallet and usually some, you know, cardboard bumpers and plastic wrap. But for these fully integrated ones, these crates are substantial.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe it's something that, yeah, I mean, in the principles of OCP, maybe this is something we need to add in. If it's not already, if one of the principles doesn't include this, I don't. But we should be encouraging, you know, OCP solution providers that have got, you know, the OCP badge and they should be adhering to the principles. Should provide this.
Well, I mean, one of the principles is efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah.
About it from power and cooling. Maybe we should be talking about environment too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
environmental
yeah, that's
impact.
interesting. Right, right. Because I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, because impact is one of the, maybe it's part of the impact.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and you know, if you just think about how you want to strip down the server and use less materials and all that stuff, you know, apply it to the you know, the shipping and packaging. That is interesting. It'd be great to get a. I wonder if we could lure an integrator into our project and start talking about this part, because it's a facility issue, right? It's beyond the rack, so I think this is that's a very interesting topic.
Yeah,
right.
it's at the manufacturing level. Yeah.
Yeah. So is Circle, like? Let me ask you this. I know in Europe, you know, so you're well connected, Mark, but like Circle B, and you know, or we can go to one of the big ones in the U.S. and try to pull them in too on this.
Yes, I mean Menno from Circle B is, you know, has been very useful. You know, contributing from the side on the contents of the guidelines. So yeah, I mean, and they shared pictures showing, you know, racks being created, and but yeah, I think Circle B would definitely be worth approaching to share their best practice, because yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's European requirements for the manufacturer to take back all of the packaging, isn't there?
It's not enforced.
Oh.
Each country does have, you know, it's setting a requirement that a certain percentage of, you know, material should be recycled, but no one is enforcing it. And that's the thing. It's very much a voluntary code.
Yeah, I know our group has made arrangements with a recycling company there, so that there's a shipping label inside the box of everything that we ship out. So the end customer, can just put the shipping label in the outside of the box, and it goes to a recycle center.
Ah. That's yeah. I mean, yeah, there are certainly, you know, certain consumables, like things like, yeah, in certain industries that is definitely happening. I mean, things like toner cartridges for multifunction devices, you know, that the manufacturers, you know, are providing that service to have things recycled, but packaging. Yeah, I'm not aware that's been sort of handled by the manufacturer, or really trying to encourage it. They're sort of letting the end user to deal with that. So, but putting some guidelines around recycling is certainly something that should be encouraging.
Yeah, I even wonder if there's a potential to produce you know, the pallet and the box design is a design, right? I wonder if that can be contributed to the community, and it's something that multiple integrators can use. So there's kind of the standard pallet type of pallet box design, and then the recyclability could be potentially easier because it's everybody uses the same kind of thing.
I'm sure I had a conversation once with a rack manufacturer that suggested this to me, an open source crate that didn't come to anything, but maybe that's something to be.
I'll talk to our guys. I mean, I'll talk to our guys. I mean, because I know we have, we have standard pallets that empty rack ship on, and we have special ones that can take up to 2,000 or 3,000 pounds. I don't know if there's IP around them or it's just we get them from a vendor. I have no idea. So I can definitely ask in Schneider how that works.
Yeah, and certainly ones that have got integrated ramps as well. Because I know that. I mean, you think that's a no-brainer, an obvious thing, but I've seen. I think it's Rack Solutions. I saw a Rack Solutions open rack that was that they delivered, and there was no ramp off the pallet. So there's certainly, we're getting down to the details now. So it certainly would be great,
All right.
Maybe Schneider leading the charge on this would be.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. I'll ask around on my end and see what we got, and maybe ask Circle B and all that, and we'll come back to it maybe at the December call. It'd be interesting.
Okay. So you'll contact Circle B, will you?
Do you have any contacts there, or I don't know?
Yes. Yeah. I know the guys there.
Yeah. Just give them a call. Just tell them what we talked about. Maybe they can join the call or something. See if it's interesting. So, all right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, we got about just over 10 minutes, and I do want to bring up one more topic. And I was thinking as I was re-reviewing this thing, it could feed well also into potentially the colo checklist potentially as an item. But in any event, I'll just, it's a really long document, and Jason actually knows this thing much better than I do, to be honest. But it's it's a great, it's something that Schneider had contributed. Yeah, like I said, this thing is from 2013, so I think we contributed in 2014. And if you're familiar with like the green grid, efficiency, maturity model, it's sort of in the form of that, but it talks about data center operations. And just to give you an idea, there's multiple categories that this goes through. So environmental health and safety, and I'll just scroll through it. Emergency preparedness and response, maintenance management, site management. 5 is operations management, then change management, and then quality, and that's everything. And so, within each one, let me go down here just to give you an example, right? You would rate it on a 1 to 5 scale, and this kind of describes, hey, initial ad hoc, you're kind of not really paying attention, but you do what you can. Repeatable, 3, you actually have a process. 4 would be it's a managed and measurable process, and 5 that it's actually optimized. And then as you go down the document, it'll give you examples. So, do you have a workplace safety program? And has examples for the U.S. and then levels of maturity. So, are you a level 1? And so you could go through and kind of grade yourself. And then the idea being, a company can grade themselves, and then they could then put actions in place and priorities on what they want to actually improve, right? And so this is a very, very detailed document that goes through all this. So I'm not going to read through it, of course, because I think everybody would drop it off the call pretty quick if I started that. But you know, it's on the website. What I might do is in the minutes to this, to the whole team, I'll put a link to it. It'd be great if we could get some people to review it, and if there's any comments, and if everybody thinks it's pretty good as is, I don't know if anything would need modernization in it. We could send it up to the incubation committee for approval. So,
do you know that Bixby are going to be publishing an data center operations manual, best practice? So
who's that?
Bixby.
Bixby.
Oh, Bixby's doing that?
Hmm.
All right.
So it might be worth sort of, yeah, comparing. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been working on that standard or that best practice manual, but yeah, certainly, yeah, Bixby have created something very recently, and yeah, I think it's about to be published.
All right, interesting. No, I don't keep up with my Bixby stuff. This is, you know, this doesn't really tell you how to do it, so to speak, but it does, you know, at least grade the level of maturity of what you're doing, right? So yeah, interesting. I mean, this would be open, obviously, free. Anybody could use it. I know Bixby, it's tough to get a hold of that stuff unless you're a member and pay for the documents.
Yeah, you've got to pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So. All right.
Is water use effectiveness in this?
There is, you know, obviously that's a green grid metric. I don't know if this mentions under operations. It does talk about efficient operations down below. I don't know, Jason, if you off the top of your head know if it has it in there.
You know, it's been so long since I looked at this, I don't remember, but I mean, you could very easily just search for water.
Oh yeah, I could use my tools here. Where's the find view?
Just Control F, usually. So the idea, just to give some context to everybody here, so the idea was, the reason this was made to begin with was that there were a lot of, there was just no standard out there in the way that data centers were operated and maintained. I mean, there was the tier standard, but that was build. Then you know, Uptime came out with you know, the kind of an extension of the tier standards for operational, so the operational sustainability, but even that was really kind of a higher the better, if you will. But this was developed actually kind of at Lee Technologies, which was later acquired by Schneider, and I did have a significant part in drafting this up. But the goal here was to eliminate. You would talk to people, and people would say, when they were describing how a data center was run, whether it was their colo provider or whether it was themselves, they would say, we use industry best practices, right? We implement best practices for this, that, and the other thing, but there was really no definition on what best practices were. It was really just up to whoever it was saying those words, and there was really no substance to them. And the other point was, in a lot of cases, depending on the business and the needs of the business that had the data center needs, it might not make sense to use best practices, right? We may not want to strive for 5 stars. This may be lower on the priority list for us, and so 2 stars are okay, or 3 stars, or whatever. So that's what this was really designed to be, was a framework for either a company when looking for either colo or a data center build standards and operations after the fact, or a standard thing for colo vendors to follow, so that they could either themselves follow a standard and rate themselves, or have third party come in and do some type of assessment in alignment with this and kind of figure out where they were. And and the organization looking for the data center capacity would compare that to what their organizational needs were, and then in the end, hopefully streamline, basically find the most suitable data center for their needs. Or as a colo vendor, right, say these are the standards that we meet, and folks could look at that, right? It eliminated the industry best practices piece, or maybe more correctly, it defined, or it attempted to define all what those were. So I think in the front matter, it does discuss the the concept of you wouldn't necessarily strive for 5 in all scenarios. It's just, you put together a matrix if you're looking to evaluate your data center, and then you can put some weights to it, and in the end, you come out with, what makes sense for you as an organization. That's really it in terms of operations. Does that make more sense?
Yeah. Is there a checklist that goes with this?
There isn't, and that was deliberately done because we wanted to provide the framework for folks to kind of do it on their own, not necessarily give a checklist itself. But if you dig into it a little bit further, I mean, it sort of is. I mean, you just go through and, you read the different criteria and the different levels, and then you come out with what the result of that is. So it's pretty easy to change it into a checklist, but there is no checklist.
Yeah. You can just take the categories and subcategories and put your levels on it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just thinking whether what we're sort of trying to create with the color ready spreadsheet, that we do something similar and on the same sort of lines for this. If we feel that makes it simpler for Colo.
I don't know if you guys remember, but I actually brought that up when we were initially discussing, or in the early stages of the Colo Ready checklist. I had brought up that there was a lot of overlap with this.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah. No, good point. Yeah.
Looking for a colo, it would be very nice to have this in the checklist, so I'd have some idea of how well the colo is managed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the main thrust of it. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they can, again, self-grade themselves, with some of this stuff you can't check unless you're, on site, but in any event, yeah.
I think they've both got their place, haven't they? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think both the build and the operations. It's all part of the the big picture.
It's like the pre-install and the post-install checklist.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. Yeah. So I could see it. A facility saying, hey, why come to this? Well, our facility is it's good for compute gear. It's run maybe there's an efficiency aspect of it, and then there's the operational aspect of it. The thing, this definitely gets beyond, if you think about the tenets of open compute, I mean, this gets into, safety issues and other things like that, which, that's not really a big mission of open compute. It's more on the efficiency side. So I don't know if, you throw the thing out here for, for use, but we really only look at a certain sections if we want to assess them with regards to, open compute. What do you guys think? I mean, the whole thing would be useful for anybody, but.
So that was kind of the challenge that we faced initially. Was there wasn't 100% overlap with kind of the goals and well, I don't even know that there were tenets necessarily at the time that this was implemented.
Yeah, I don't know if there were. Yeah.
The concept, right? That was one thing. There wasn't complete overlap, and then it was the way that contributions were at the time. They were very hardware centric, and so there was no means of submitting this as a formal submission, right, for some type of standard. So it kind of sat on the sidelines. I mean, we've progressed since then, and I think that we're closer. But I need to talk to Bill again.
No,
this would.
Yeah, this could go totally. I mean, I think Bill last conversation I had Bill, he's like, yeah, you should bring this back up because he goes, he liked it. And now that we have a process to do an informational document, this fits in quite well, I think.
Yeah, it just needs promoting again.
Yeah.
So I think this is this is the time when people are considering. Yeah, this is the time to bring it to everyone's attention.
Good.
My wife is a board-certified safety professional and an OSHA incident commander, so maybe I should get her to review it.
Oh gosh, yeah, boy, that'd be awesome. So, all right, well, good. We're at the bottom of the hour here, so our time is up. But here's what I'll do. I'm glad I brought it up. We can download it right off the wiki. I'm going to send a link in the meeting minutes and say, everybody, please take a look and comment. And if there's anybody involved in the Bixby thing, it'd be good to see, how this might either fit in, or do we need to worry about it or not. Yeah, we'll go from there. And then I like the idea of the whole removing crates and the how you ship racks and stuff. That's kind of a cool topic. Last thing, guys, we have until December 1st for people to submit potential presentations for the data center workshop that'll happen at the summit, the second day of the summit. And so, spread the word if people are coming. And if you have something that's appropriate for the Open Compute community that you want to share, you can do that. So it's a great opportunity.
Okay.
All right. Any other, let me see if I can figure out how to stop sharing. There we go. That's easy. Did it go away?
Nope.
Oh, it just paused it. Now I can do stuff and it just stays there. Now I see.
There you go.
All right. Not so bad for the first time using GoToWebinar. I think it worked well. All right. Okay, great. Any other last minute comments before we close?
The only thing, Rob, is sort of on this whole telco guidelines docket. What action should we take? Do you want to reach out to that team to see if they're, so we could bring it up as an agenda item on the next call, or
we could do that. Let me ask Michael. Do you regularly attend the telco meetings?
I do.
Do you want? And I should attend them too, to be honest. But it's all about time management. Would you want to bring that up? That it came up in our meeting, and if maybe there's direct use of our document or other ways, maybe reference designs. See what they think about that.
Either that, or you could just send an email over to the
project lead
group, and
all right, I'll do that, and I'll CC you on it. So that'd be great. All right, yeah, I'll take the lead on that, Mark, and send an email over to the telco project and let them know what we discussed.
Okay, yeah. If you can copy me in.
Yeah, I'll copy you in too. Yeah.
And if I hear any sort of thing back from Radisys or anyone else, I'll let you know. But okay, sounds good.
Very good. All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of the week, and for you Americans, have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you, everyone.
You have a good one. Thank you.
All right, take care, everybody. Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.